What are you looking forward to? This is a key one. Um, in fact, I end up using it a lot in my coaching practice because, yeah, we might be quick to make goals and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna become a millionaire in 5 years. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, or I'm gonna publish this book by next year. Might be challenging, but you can figure it out. Like like we seem to be okay like making goals, excuse me, and setting them in certain ways. And that's one of the things I work with folks as a business coach is like how can we set these goals, and not a matter of having realistic goals quote unquote, but making them based on milestones and maybe getting to the core intention of why you're setting those goals. What we talk less about, what we talk less about is why, what are we actually looking forward to? What are we actually looking forward to? And how can that propel us into the future? Yeah, thank you, Tamam. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Of course, I've been having a lot of anxiety about my future. How can I relieve that? Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think there's a couple things you can do. The first thing is finding someone or a group to talk to about that. And it could be a group of one, whether it's there's a stack of journals that I have around my desk, and you might see some behind me. My shoulders are getting pretty big as I get older, so they're over here. But the journals and all that stuff. Finding a way to talk about that, because that leads to number two, which I was kind of getting at. So really good timing with your question is actually having something to look forward to. But one of the best ways you can have something to look forward to, or let me rephrase that. I use my hands. Let me put my coffee down. That's why I'm awkward right now. If there's something you're anxious to get to, like some part of your life being over or some stress that you're under that you're trying to get from under, documenting it in some way will help you understand when you actually get there. I looked forward to talking to 100 of y'all on YouTube. Now there's tens of thousands that I'm talking to right now. If I didn't recognize that part of the journey, I wouldn't even realize when I actually got what I wanted. Because when you're actually on the journey, you're just going day by day. You might be struggling right now. I get it. I have my struggle stuff too. I respect it. One of the ways you can recognize when things are getting better is by actually documenting how things are. So if you're having a shitty day, then document that you're having a shitty day. So then when you have a pretty good day, maybe it'll feel a little bit better. And unfortunately, there's no simple answer to feeling anxious about the future. Sometimes that's more of a feature rather than the bug. That's part of, in some ways, how we are as humans. If it's serious anxiety, you feel like need support and help, then definitely get a doc's help, get a therapist or a psychologist that can help you get on your way. If it's some manageable anxiety, which is more what I deal with, as an old therapist said, it's more situational anxiety versus permanent anxiety. So sometimes you're anxious for a reason. That's a little bit easier to deal with than if something is actually off balance and you're anxious for no apparent reason. Those are two separate things. If you're anxious about a certain situation, which is what I know way too much about, if you're anxious about a certain situation, a situational anxiety, again, one of the best things you can do is document where you are and where you've been. And then when you check in a few weeks from now, a month from now, maybe even a year from now, you actually see how things have changed and how things haven't changed. And that could be a proper gauge for you to figure out how you can settle yourself. I also recommend in the other episodes I talked about, this is one that I recommend as far as improving inner peace, which I think that's when you chimed in with your question. I talk about a lot of these types of things and go way deeper. I have another one on here as far as how to get centered today. And it's a much deeper conversation in regards to what you're talking about. I'd say one other thing too, which I mentioned, I believe in the how to get centered today one, is figuring out those little things that actually give you joy. And for me, joy is just being present. Like what snaps you into being present, right? At, in a safe way. Like me having a cup of coffee with you guys, aside from the caffeine, like the what it does to my taste buds. How I, as I shared with you all a few minutes ago, how I know the origin story of that period of time in my life when my babies are being born and then taking care of them, and all that gets taken back to this period of time. Like it all goes back to that, to the robe reminding me of when I was a toddler and I used to carry my blanket around, even though I'm far from that. Those are those little micro moments of joy that bring you back down to earth. So no matter how much I feel, the more situational, hopefully that part is clear. The situational anxiety I might feel about the, I don't know, 10 things that I could worry about right now. There's certain things that I can do, even just for a second, that bring me back down to earth. And so maybe you can find those things, if you haven't already, those things that bring you down to earth safely. And that's my best feedback on that. So I appreciate your question, and good luck as far as processing the anxiety that you have. Sometimes anxiety is warranted, again, based on the situation, and then it's more about managing it. And sometimes anxiety isn't warranted, and you need some outside help. There you go. I hear you exactly. You see, Mr. Coltrane over in the background. He's there for a reason. So, shout out to you. Listen to as much music as you can. Get those things that bring you back down to earth. So, thank you, Timon.